When two tectonic plates of the tech world, I mean, we're talking Apple and Google, decide to move in the same direction, the entire landscape, it doesn't just vibrate. It fundamentally shifts.
It really does.
And we're not talking about some minor product feature here. This is a decisive strategic move that redefines competition and, maybe more importantly, redefines how you find information on your phone.
It's an alignment that, few people saw coming, but if you look closely, it was strategically inevitable. Apple has now confirmed it. A multi-year agreement to integrate Google's AI, Gemini, right into the next generation of Siri.
And into the whole Apple Intelligence framework.
Exactly. So for hundreds of millions of iPhone users, from London to the Caribbean, the brain powering their phone just got a massive external upgrade.
And this is so much more than just another Silicon Valley headline about licensing fees.
Oh, absolutely. This is a foundational change in search. It's a radical evolution of data. And maybe surprisingly, it's a profound real estate story.
I love that.
So our mission today really is to unpack the strategic truce between these old rivals and then explore what it means for accessing very specific local information. We're going to use real estate data in Jamaica as our case study because there, context is just everything.
Okay, I love that we're going from the corporate boardroom right down to property valuations in Kingston. But let's start with the alliance itself. I mean, for over a decade, you didn't just choose a phone, you picked a side.
You did hit.
It was iPhone versus Android, closed versus open, privacy versus data. That whole cultural divide really defined the last era of computing.
And that decade-long division has been, well, it's been basically wiped away by one single force. The sheer pace of AI development.
AI.
Exactly. You have to remember the context. The immense global pressure from OpenAI and the mainstreaming of ChatGPT, that was the catalyst. This wasn't about partnership. It was about survival, about relevance.
But wait, isn't this a massive surrender for Apple, though?
Yeah.
They've spent decades building this idea that they control the entire user experience, soup to nuts. Doesn't relying on Google for the literal brain of Siri weaken that whole Apple experience?
That is the critical question.
Yeah.
And from a brand perspective, yeah, maybe it's a difficult pill to swallow, but from a market perspective, it's genius.
How so?
Apple's gain is speed. The source material is crystal clear on this. They knew that building a world-class large language model from scratch would just take too long. The market's moving too fast.
This is a strategic leapfrog.
It is. It ensures their new AI features are competitive right now. They still control the look, the feel, the integration, but they outsource the hardest, most time-consuming part, the brain.
Okay, so Apple gets to catch up instantly. What's in it for Google?
For Google, the gain is maybe even more critical. It's almost offensive. They get native access to iPhone users at a massive scale.
Right, they're not just the default search engine in Safari anymore.
Look, if you're Google, you've been watching user behavior shift. People are starting to ask their phones questions instead of typing queries. Google is making sure that even when people stop searching in the old way, they still control the engine that generates the answer. It is defensive brilliance.
They control the source of truth no matter what the interface looks like. And that leads us right to the paradigm shift. We are moving from the era of search results.
The 10 blue links.
Yes, the 10 blue links where you had to do all the work, to the era of the single definitive conversational answer.
The old way required work. You'd search, you'd click, you'd compare, you'd filter out the spam. That era is it's fundamentally fading, especially on mobile.
And the new normal, powered by Gemini under the hood of Siri, is way more efficient, but it's also much more opaque. You asked how much does a 4-bedroom house cost in Montego Bay, and you just get a sentence or two.
And it looks like Apple, it feels like Apple, but the logic, the aggregated data, the brain, is often Google's.
This has massive implications for anyone who needs to be visible online.
Huge. Once the AI becomes the first and often the only stop, visibility isn't about ranking high on a list anymore. It's about whether your underlying data is structured, trusted, and, reusable by these massive AI systems.
So we're saying goodbye to classic SEO search engine optimization and hello to, what would you call it, DSO, data structure optimization.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. And it's so much more fundamental than just metadata.
Unpack that for me.
Okay, so traditional SEO was about text, keywords, backlinks, things that tell a ranking algorithm where to place your link. DSO is about the data itself. It's about coding your information so the AI's language model can understand every variable without clicking anything.
Give me an example for real estate.
Right, a real estate platform. Traditional SEO focuses on the nice, flowery description. DSO focuses on the hard variables. The exact coordinates, the number of bathrooms, the year built, the price, the zoning code, and especially the status. Is it under offer or available?
Mm.
If the AI can't cleanly pull those fields, it can't use your data.
So if my listing has a great description, but the price is just contact agent, the AI might just throw it out as incomplete. It effectively becomes invisible to millions of iPhone users.
Precisely. The AI response is built from scraped and summarized data. And here's the kicker. This data is already being scraped globally by systems in Asia, all over the world. The data is being vacuumed up. The only question is whether it's usable.
Okay, let's bring this right down to our case study. Jamaican real estate. This is a unique market, high value, a lot of diaspora investors. What are the kind of queries that are just going to bypass websites entirely now?
They're the immediate, actionable questions, the ones people ask on their phones when they're ready to make a move. Things like, what are the average rental prices for a two-bed in St. James? Or summarize the process for a non-resident to buy beachfront land in Negro.
Right, and instead of clicking 3 property sites, a blog, and a government PDF, the user just expects one cohesive answer from their assistant.
That's the expectation.
Yeah.
And that presents this huge opportunity on one hand and a really severe warning on the other.
The opportunity is global reach.
Instantaneous global reach. Jamaican property info can get to diaspora investors who live on their phones. It removes so much friction. That's great for the market.
But the warning, that's where the real work begins.
The warning is clear. Out of date, incomplete, or badly structured data won't just rank lower. It might as well not exist. It will just disappear from the AI's answer. Accuracy and clear structure are no longer optional. They're the price of admission.
And this brings us to the biggest risk, which is oversimplification. I mean, Jamaica's property market isn't a template market like Toronto or London. An AI trained on global data could miss all the nuance.
That's the inherent danger of a global filter. AI models are pattern finders. If 95% of their training data is from markets where sellers are motivated by debt and quick sales, the AI assumes that model applies everywhere.
Which just fundamentally breaks down when you apply it to Jamaica.
Exactly. The sources we looked at highlight this. In Jamaica, owners are often under no pressure to sell. They might be holding land for generations. So if an AI applies a global model that assumes financial urgency, it's going to get the market completely wrong.
And the person in New York making a decision based on that summary is operating on a totally flawed premise.
Totally. And the other massive complexity is family ownership, informal arrangements, title complexity. These are not simple checkboxes. They're the fabric of the market. The AI will probably just label that data as high risk or incomplete and filter it out.
So you have to make the nuance explicit in the data. You can't assume the AI knows.
That's the takeaway. There's a statement from Dean Jones, the founder of Jamaica Homes, that just nails this. He says, quote, "When AI becomes the first and last point of contact for property information, accuracy and local context matter more than ever. Jamaica's land and housing issues are rarely one-line answers."
That should be taped to the monitor of every developer and agent. If you assume the AI knows the local rules, you are going to lose.
You cannot assume anything. You have to feed it the context. And that, unfortunately, leads us to an unintended consequence: the quiet decline of the middle layer.
The middle layer, you mean the specialized blogs, the local guides, the news outlets that add all that depth we've been talking about?
Precisely. Historically, you'd search and you'd find a government site, a big platform, and you'd click on 3 local blogs or law firm guides that explain the intricacies of, say, stamp duties.
Those sources did the hard work of translation.
And now the AI just absorbs that work, synthesizes it, and presents it as its own definitive answer, often without ever sending you back to the original source.
So the immediate risk is lost traffic for those creators.
They're being cannibalized by the tech they're feeding.
Right.
But the long-term risk is far more corrosive.
Sure.
This efficiency has a hidden cost.
It weakens the whole information ecosystem.
Think about it. If the platforms generating reliable, deep local knowledge are sidelined, who updates the data next year? Who explains the new planning laws?
You end up with a beautiful, fast answer that's built on information that's slowly going stale. The knowledge creators can't afford to operate anymore.
It's deeply ironic. The tech designed for global access is threatening the very local sources that keep the information accurate. We're sacrificing depth for convenience.
And that Apple-Google deal just amplifies this. Now, whether you're on Android or an iPhone, the same core logic is shaping how complex local information is interpreted globally. That's a massive concentration of influence.
It creates a huge strategic imperative for markets like Jamaica. For everyone in real estate agents, developers, valuers, advisors, the message has to be urgent.
Okay, so let's summarize the action points. First, an AI assistant will be the first impression a global investor has of your market.
Right.
Second, your data structure, this DSO, is now as crucial as your marketing. And third, local context must be explicitly coded, not just assumed.
The whole challenge is seeing that the smartphone has evolved. It's not just a search tool, it's a decision-making assistant. Jamaica has to embrace this speed without losing the substance and nuance of its market.
That really is the core challenge. So here's our final provocative thought for you to take away from this deep dive. How do you make sure that your local, unique realities in property, in business, in culture are not unintentionally flattened by a global AI filter that was never designed with your specific context in mind?
That question right there is going to define success for local expertise in this new age of synthesized answers. Something to think about as your phone gets smarter and the answers get a lot shorter.